paper making and bookbinding. Clear? Paper making and bookbinding. Clear? No, clear? With arrival of Turkish rulers in India, Muslim rulers in India, clear, they contributed towards paper making in India. Paper making was not developed in ancient India, clear. Paper making developed largely with the arrival of the Turkish warriors in India. So paper making was a big contribution of the Turkish warriors in India. The writing materials in ancient India were many stones, copper plates, silk and cotton clothes, clear. And they also wrote on palm leaves known as talpatra, clear. So they largely used talpak and the bark of the trees known as burjpatra, clear. So in ancient India, paper was not used for writing. Paper, or rather in ancient India, the writing was done on stones, that is stone inscriptions. They were written on copper plates, they were written on silk and cotton clothes, and they also wrote something on palm leaves. Even Buddhist texts were written on palm leaves like Sutta Pitak, Vinaya Pitak, Abhidhamma Pitak. These palm leaves were used, which was known as talpatra, which was used as talpatra, clear. At the same time, they also used the birch bark as a material to write the items or write the materials. They were also used the birch bark, clear, and this was known as burjpatra. They were known as burjpatra, clear. So palm leaves and the birch bark were used as materials along with stones and copper plates, clear. Paper was first manufactured in China, we all know this, clear. And this paper was first manufactured in China around 1st century AD. So paper was first manufactured in China all across the world in 1st century AD, and it was made with bamboo pulp, clear. So bamboo pulp was used to make paper, clear. All the Muslim warriors brought this, or rather learned paper making from Chinese, and at the same time Chinese, they brought the paper making to India as well, clear. And when Arab invaders, Muslim invaders came to India, they promoted this concept of making paper through bamboo pulp in India as well, clear. And during Delhi Sultanate, paper was used for many purposes, especially for books and even royal orders like farmans, which were issued by the sultans of Delhi, clear. So all these paper began to be used, and paper began to be largely applied for royal works in India, clear. Where at the same time, clear, in the 14th century, Chinese navigator Ma Huan came to Bengal, and they realized that paper was produced in Bengal itself, clear. However, the bulk of paper was imported from Islamic countries, especially Samarkand and Syria, clear. So paper was introduced to India by the Arabs, and they brought the paper from the Chinese, and in course of time, paper began to be produced in Bengal through bamboo pulp, clear. Bamboo pulp was largely used for making the papers, and these papers were used basically for bookmaking, bookbinding, and at the same time also began to be used for issuing farmans as well, clear. The writing or the practice of writing books on paper, writing books on paper was accompanied by the craft of bookbinding as well, which was an innovation in India because the technique was different from that followed in India for putting sheets of writing material together, palm leaves and birch bark, clear. Even when Buddhist sources or Buddhist words, they wrote the teachings of Gautam Buddha, Sutta Pitak, they keep the palm leaves one above the another in a basket. The Pali term for basket is known as Pitak. Therefore, it is known as Sutta Pitak, Vinaya Pitak, Abhidhamma Pitak. There was no concept of binding the palm leaves, clear. But at the same time, the Turkish rulers in India introduced the concept of book binding. Since paper came into existence, they started the concept of book binding as well. That led to more formal development of writing books in India, which was a great innovation done by the Turkish warriors in India. So both paper making and book binding was started by them. In ancient India, there was material that was used for writing was talpat and bhojpatra, but paper was invented for the first time by China in 1st century AD. Arabs brought this paper to India, and bamboo pulp began to be used to produce paper. Papers first of all began to be produced in Bengal, from Bengal to other parts of India. Since paper began to be produced, the concept of book binding or binding the papers together also started, and this was a great innovation done by the Turkish rulers in India, clear.